And this to me, by the way, is the superhuman. When you can start to tap into that, what we're doing is we're opening ourselves up to a supreme intelligence
Mm.
that is so far beyond the human intellect that this is what creates the master. This is what creates the superhuman, is when we tap into who and what we really are and all those different facets.
How do we have these things ingrained in our soul? You know, like where is it? Where's the hard drive? That's what I want to wonder. Is like, how do we? I don't know, because we think it's all in the brain. Like all of our memories are in the brain. But then when you put it that way, it's like how
Yeah,
so mysterious.
we could look at it, if this is helpful.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the self is multidimensional, multifrequential. The human being is not.
Yeah,
Okay, so
yeah,
right,
yeah.
so we reduce ourselves through, as we said before, the misidentification with the form, right? So then we're locked into body consciousness. We're locked into logic and linearity because that's actually how the human mind operates within the third frequency where we are. Now, what we actually are has got nothing to do with that, right?
Mm,
So just as an image, right? It's just as an image. If we think of an octopus, right, and we think of the octopus as our higher self, I'm sure you're familiar with it, with the higher self, right? So the octopus is the higher self, right? And the tentacle is an aspect, a projected aspect or soul, right? What you and I are, right? Well, that octopus can have many tentacles down into various levels of
yeah.
water,
Mm-hmm.
but they're all the octopus,
Mm-hmm.
right? So when we start to tap into what we really are, and what we really are is the octopus. I mean, we're a tentacle, but we're a part of the octopus. So self-realization or enlightenment, as an analogy, is when the connection has gone back to the octopus. You remain the tentacle,
Yeah.
but you have rekindled the connection to the larger you, and the larger you is all of these other tentacles or all of these other incarnations, and they're all happening right now, which the human mind is like, that's right.
Mm,
But it is just like your radio can only play one station at a time, but how many songs are playing right now, right? Okay, so it's just the same kind of, or your TV, you can only watch one station at a time, but satellite TV, there's 10,000 stations playing all right now, you can only watch one at a time. So I think where this memory comes from, again, it's an analogy. The memory comes from when we have rekindled our connection to who and what we really are, which is the octopus. And the octopus is simultaneously, concurrently, and in parallel, all these other different incarnations. And this to me, by the way, is the superhuman. When you can start to tap into that, what we're doing is we're opening ourselves up to a supreme intelligence
mm.
that is so far beyond the human intellect that this is what creates the master. This is what creates the superhuman, is when we tap into who and what we really are and all those different facets.
Mm. Very well said. Yeah. In that way, I got the visualization of our brain not as a hard drive, like I said before, but more of like a radio transmitter. And we're just opening up the transmission for us to get that to the octopus, the
Yeah,
great octopus.
I think the highest use of the mind or the best use
Mm-hmm.
of the mind is to tap in and tune into the highest frequencies that are being broadcast right
Yeah.
now. And you're absolutely right. I feel the same way, that the highest use of the brain is a receiver of
Yeah.
these higher frequencies, which speak to us in pure energetics that gets translated by intuition. And that intuition then speaks to us, and then we can
Mm.
take action
Mm-hmm.
upon the translation of the pure energetics from the octopus and the higher frequencies.
But if one isn't silent or still enough, you won't hear it, you know? I feel as though this whole path alludes to just finding a sense of peace and stillness in one's life, you know, just really incorporating a meditative lifestyle, whether it is actually meditating or having some sort of meditative mindset, if that makes sense. It just really comes down to being still and knowing that you are God or that you are the octopus. um, do you agree with that? Like, is it just in order to get the transmission, do we just have to incorporate a meditation practice in our life? And I know that's very general. It's a very general statement. But do you think it revolves in one way or the other around just being still, being silent mind?
Oh, 100%. I think you nailed it.
Mm-hmm.
A silly analogy is like a snow globe, right? You shake the snow globe, right? Thoughts. You shake the snow globe, you can't see anything, right? You got all that stuff like this, and you can't see, right? But when we become, just as you were talking about, still, and
Yeah.
silent
Yep.
inside. All the snow in the snow globe just falls right down.
Mm.
And now there's instant clarity, and now we can see very clearly. And through that seeing, there will be understanding.
Mm.
And I think that's exactly, I mean, it's a snow globe and it's an analogy, but when we can be still inside and not be the shaken snow globe, the intuition will speak to us
Yep.
and in pure energetics, and it gets translated. And I really feel the key is to develop that as a normalized state, as a
Mm.
state of being. So what I have found, Gary, since I started officially teaching way back when, is that the struggle that people have with meditation. And people have
Mm-hmm.
come to me, I've tried and tried and tried, and I can't meditate. Or I've had people come to me who said they've been doing Vipassana meditation for 15 years, 20 years. And then we meditate together, and people are like, now I feel like I finally meditated. I don't know what I was doing the last 15 years, but now I feel like I've meditated. I think the key understanding, Gary, is to know that the self is meditation, self
Mm.
with the capital S. We
Mm.
exist before there's a thought.
Yeah. Yeah.
So meditation is just being present.
Mm-hmm.
And that being present is our natural state, which doesn't require any effort. It's effortless to meditate because the self is meditation.
Mm-hmm.
The key is to normalize that, Not, hey, time out from my day. Let me go in my room, light my incense, get my crystals. I love incense and crystals, but let me sort of break free of my daily routine of being me, and let me go meditate. I really feel this is backwards. I think it should be the other way around. I think we should be in a perpetual state of meditation, even in our doingness, right? We tap into the beingness and then put the beingness into the doingness. So
Yeah.
now everything becomes meditation. Everything is meditation because the self is meditation. And if the self is driving the bus of the incarnation, everything that we do is a form of meditation. So I think once humanity flips that around, so what that means is we're in a state of meditation, even as we're being active or in doing this. And then if a half hour out of the day, instead of taking a half hour out to go meditate, I'd like to see humanity, if we get triggered for a half hour and the ego mind identity is going nuts about whatever, that's fine. That's fine. Come back and then return to your all day long, all activities within your meditative state
Mm.
instead of the other way around. And it's effortless. And once we do that, I don't think there's our state of being, our quality of life, everything about this experience, this human experience, will be elevated by an order of magnitude just by taking the beingness and putting it into the doingness and remaining as the self, and the self is meditation.
Do you feel that in order to bring the beingness into the doingness, one has to, in order to rework the muscle memory of the mind, you could say, to actually have some sort of rigid schedule of meditation? And then once that's incorporated into the lifestyle, you can bring that actually into the goings on of your life?
I think you're probably right. I think in the beginning, I like to say the highest process is no process. But in order to work with the no process, we actually need a process.
Yeah.
So we need a process to get to the no process,
It's
which
kind of a
sounds like
joke.
yeah, it's an oxymoron. That doesn't make sense. Or no, but it's true. So I think we need a process, and then it gets to the no process. So yeah,
Yeah.
I think in the beginning, consciously working towards some kind of meditative, just like we would go to the gym or whatever, do yoga. It's like, well, let me take 20 minutes, 30 minutes, 45 minutes, 2 hours, whatever it is. And let me start to develop this muscle. And then what we'll start to realize, hopefully, is that we never have to come out of that.
Yeah.
So there's this whole thing. We just did a workshop, Gary, in San Diego. And one of the things that we did is that I do in all the workshops and retreats is we do this transcendent meditation that's in my first book. It's called the spaceship meditation. I don't know if you're familiar with that. We go to very, very high frequencies and dimensions. And what I noticed people were doing is that we would have this experience, it would change people, and then they had this conscious action to come back and ground themselves. And really what that means is they're exploring the depth of themselves and their higher mind. They're exploring more of themselves, right? In this expanded state of consciousness. And then they would, quote unquote, come back down the dimensionally and frequentially, come back down here, and then they would come all the way back down, and then the ego mind identity would immediately be present.
Mm-hmm.
So what we did the last time was we would go to this very, very high state of consciousness. And when we're all in it, we're all experiencing it, I literally said, okay, open your eyes.
Mm-hmm.
Now stay that expanded now
Mm-hmm.
and just continue. So that's part of the, I feel that's part of the spiritual fiction that you have to ground yourself. Actually, the grounding to me sounds like the justification for bringing back the conditioned mind and leaving behind that expanded state. And I found that the exact opposite is the best way to operate it, to stay in the expanded state even when we're just here and now. And people that started doing that, they said it changed everything for them. But to come all the way back, I do believe that to start off with, having some kind of practice is great. And then eventually you'll realize as you're meditating and you're in it, which is really the self, you're deep within the self, just open your eyes and proceed.
Yeah.
Just continue like that and watch what happens with your life.